Beruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Kuf Nun Vav Amud Aleph, 10 lines from the bottom. After Gemara had told us that a person has tendencies based on when he was born, either the day that he was born or the hour that he was born, based on the mazel that he was born with. Now our Gemara discusses whether this mazel is something that can be changed or not. Says the Gemara, Itmar, Rabbi Chanina Oimer, Mazel Mechakim, Mazel Mashir, V'yesh Mazel Yisrael. He says Mazel make one wise, Mazel can make one wealthy, and there's Mazel to Yisrael. That means a person, a Bar Yisrael, is affected by his Mazel. Rabbi Yochanan Omar Ein Mazel Yisrael. Whereas Rabbi Yochanan says he can change that Mazel. Yisrael is above the Mazolos. If he davens, he gives tzedakah, and he does righteous acts that give him zechuyos, he can go ahead and overpower that predestined type of mazel. Va'oz Rabbi Yochanan l'taimei, and Rabbi Yochanan said, according to his reasoning, Dom Rabbi Yochanan minayin she'ein mazel Yisrael. From where do we know that a Jew can overcome that mazel? Shenemar, it states in the pasuk, Koyama Hashem. This is what Hashem said, El derech hagoyim al tilmodu. Do not go after, do not learn from the ways of the goyim. Umeoises hashomayim al techosu. And the signs of the heavens, do not be afraid. Ki yechatu hagoyim mehema. Because it's the goyim that are afraid of what's in the heavens, referring to the mazolos. Heim yechatu v'lo Yisrael. They are afraid, but Klal Yisrael should not be afraid. Because again, their tfilos and their zechuyos of tzedakah and maisim toivim can then overpower those mazolos. Va'af Rav Sovra ein mazel Yisrael, and Rav also holds, just like Rabbi Yochanan, that there is no mazel to Yisrael, that Yisrael can overpower that mazel. Where do we see that there is no mazel to Yisrael? It means again, the zechuyos of a bar Yisrael can go ahead and change the mazel. Shenemar states, in regards to Avram Avinu, the pasuk says, I'll read the pasuk in its entirety, Vayoytze oisoi hachutza, he went outside, Vayoymer, referring to Avram Avinu, and Hashem said to him, Habeit no hashomayma, usfor hakoichovim, go outside and look at the heavens and count the stars. Im tuchal lisporosam, if you're able to count them, meaning, can you count them? There are too many. Vayomer lo, he said to him, this is going to be like your seed. This is going to be your children. This is when Avram Avinu had no children. Omar Avram lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem says, Avram says back to Hashem, Ribono shel olam, ben beisi yoresh oisi, the one who's head of my household, who's in charge of my household, his son is going to then yoresh me because I have no children. Omar lo, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said back to Avram, lav, no. And he brings a pasuk, ki im asher yetze mime'echa, only that which is going to come from you. That is going to be your yoresh. Omar lefonov, Avram says back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono shel olam, nistakalti b'tztanunius sheli, ve'eni roi lo hoi li ben. I look at my astrology and I see that I'm not fitting to have a child. Omar le, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says back to Avram, Tzei me'itztanignus shelcha, go out from your astrology, she'ein mazel li Yisrael. And that's what's meant when it said in the pasuk, Vayoytze oise hachutza. Not that he just tell him to go outside and look at the stars, but rather go outside of your mazel, because you're above your mazel. And so too, the children of Avram Avinu, olav hashalom, are also above and beyond the mazel. My daitich, HaKadosh Baruch Hu continues to say to Avram Avinu, what did you think? On top of Kuf Nun Vav Amud Beis, they call tzedek b'marav. They call it tzedek b'marav, that the mazel of tzedek is in the west, whereby it's cold, and in that place you don't have the predisposition to have children. Mahadarna umakimno lei b'mizrach. I will remove it and put it from the west to the east. V'hainu dirsiv, that's what's meant in the pasuk. Mi heir mi mizrach tzedek yikareu leragloi. Who woke up from the west? Tzedek, the mazel of tzedek. He called him because of him. And here there's a drasha. Basically, what Hashem is saying is, who inspired, if not HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to come from the east, that's Avram, whose righteousness was really as a result of the footsteps that he made, his ragloi. The Gemara goes on to say, Shmuel nami ein mazel Yisrael. From that which Shmuel said, we also see that there's no mazel to Yisrael. The Shmuel va'avleit havu yasbei. Shmuel, together with his Gentile avleit, were sitting together, a chacham, and they were sitting together. V'havu aka'azlei hanoch inshilak agma. There are people who were then walking towards the agam to cut reeds in the swamp. Omar le Havle Lishmuel. Avle turned to Shmuel and he said to him, Hi Gavra Ozil V'loy Asi. This person, he's going to go and he will not return. In other words, Avle understood based on his mazel that he's going to perish over there in the swamp. Torik le Chivya Umaisi. He said he's going to actually get bit by a snake and die. Omar le Shmuel, Ibar Yisrael, who Ozil V'osi. If that one that you're referring to is a Jew, then he will go and he will return. In other words, he won't be killed. While they were sitting together, Shmuel and this Chacham Goy called Avleit, then this person that they're referring to came back. Kam Avleit Shade Letune. Avleit got up and he threw the load of reeds from the one who returned that was on his shoulder. Ashkach bei chivyo the posik v'shadi betarte guvi. He found that amongst the reeds was the snake that was cut into two pieces. Omar le Shmuel. Shmuel said to this man, "My avidit, what did you do? In what merit, what zechus did you do in order to then get saved from this punishment, from this ultimate din mina shamayim, from the mazel?" Omar le kol yoyma have marminon rifto bahade adodiv achlinon. All the time, every day, we would get together, my friends and I, and we would put bread into one basket. Everybody would put a piece of bread, and they would then ultimately eat together. On that day, I saw that somebody did not have enough to put his bread into the basket, and he was embarrassed. Amina lahu, I said to the group, I said, Anna ka'imna va'armina. I am going to be the one who will then collect all of the bread and put it into the basket from everybody. Kimatoi legabe, when I arrived, when I reached this person, shavoy nafshoy kiman de shakile minei. I made it as if I was taking bread from him, ki heichi de lo lichsif, so that he would not be embarrassed, and instead I put my own bread in place. Omalei. So Shmuel said to him, Mitzvah avidit. You did a mitzvah. Nofak Shmuel v'darish. Shmuel went out and he made the following drasha on the pasuk, Utzedakah tatzil mimovis. He said, V'loy memisa mishuna. Not only does tzedakah save one from a misa mishuna, that he'll have a normal death, but ella memisa atzma, from death itself. Umid Rabbi Akiva nami ein mazel Yisrael. From Rabbi Akiva also we see this principle that a bar Yisrael has the power with his zechuyos, his tzedakah and his tefillah to overcome his mazel. As follows, the Gemara tells over, Amri le Kaldoi, an astrologer said to Rabbi Akiva, Hahu yoyme da'arli lebei ganina torik le chivyo umisa. The day that your daughter is going to then go to her chuppah, that day she will be bit by a snake and die. Havadoig amilse tuva. Rabbi Akiva was very disturbed and concerned about what he was told. Even though he cannot ask, it's also to ask what is going to be. But if he was told, then he has room to be choishesh. So hahu yoyma shakalta lemachbanta ditzata beguda. It says that day, referring to the day of the chuppah, that night. So his daughter, the Kala, she took out a brooch pin and she stuck it into the wall. It actually went into the eye of the snake that was hiding in that wall and killed the snake. For the next morning, she took out the brooch pin from the wall and was attached to a dead snake. Her her father said to her, "My avid, what did you do? In what merit? What zechus that you were saved?" She said to him, "Bipanya asa anya." The night of the chasana, a poor person came. Kara abava v'havatridi kuli alma besudasa v'leked deshame. He came to the doorway, and nobody paid attention to him because they were busy with the suda. Nobody heard him. Kaimna, I got up. Shakalti liristanai diavisle. I gave him the portion of food that you gave to me. Yahavte nihile, I gave it to him. Omar lo, Rabbi Akiva said to his daughter, mitzvah avita. You did a mitzvah. Nofak Rabbi Akiva went out, v'dorash, and he made the following drasha. Utzdoka tatzil mimovis, v'lo mimisa mishuna elu misa atzma. Tzedakah saves from misa, not only from an abnormal death, but even from death itself. So we see the zechus of tzedakah then saved her from this mazel that would have caused misa. Also from the incident of Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, we find that when he was a child, also that a person can be goiver over the mazel of Yisrael. The Eima, the Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, because the mother, the Imai, the Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, the mother of Yochanan Yitzchak, Amrei Lo Kaldori. The Kaldori, the astrologer, said to his mother, Brich ganvo hava. Your son will ultimately be a ganov, meaning like a full-time ganov. Loi shavkete galui reishe. She did not let her son, who seemed to be a child at that point, take off his head covering. Amrele, she said to him, Kase reishe ki heche disave aloch imta deshmaya. She said you should always cover your head so you'll have within yourself the fear of heaven. And not only that, she gave another eitzah, uboy rachame, and davin, so that the Yetzer Hara should not overpower you. Loy hava yoda amoy kamrole. He did not know what his mother was saying. Yom echad, one day, however, Yosef kagoris tuti dikla, he was learning underneath a dekel tree. The dekel tree did not belong to him, it was from somebody else's dekel tree, and he was learning underneath. His head covering went off of his head. He lifted up his eyes, and he saw a cluster of dates. The Yetzer got very powerful and overcame him. And he took the cluster and he broke it with his teeth. And then we see that until that point, and even afterwards, when he covered his hair and he daven, he was overpowering his mazel. And therefore, another proof that we see that there's an mazel li Yisrael.